Hey guys. Happy Thursday. Woo! All right, thanks for being here. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. All right. Yeah, woo! It's Thursday. We're so glad you're here. Big crowd, even though it's entirely too cold for us. Also, this will be a great night to practice. Like, we're doing misinformation, so when you run into your neighbor and they're like, so this is global warming, you can just not punch them in the face and actually use appropriate engagement techniques that Michael's about to teach you. I'm Amy Sharma. I'm the Executive Director of Science for Georgia. I am so glad that you could join us tonight. You have to sit through. Do you want to do it? All right. Do you know what's great is when your speaker's also an employee of Science for Georgia and they know the slides. So I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Michael Czajkowski. Who's also our Director of Advocacy, and I am so excited that they have put this together for us tonight. So, take it away, Michael.
Do you want me to do there's these other slides.
Oh, wait, sorry. I thought he was doing the slides. He's just helping. Sorry. This is what happens. It's been a long day. I'm in a suit. If you guys are like, wow, I'm underdressed. Because I was in my pajamas this morning, and they're like, hey, there's this bill at the General Assembly that you need to talk about. So I had to put on a suit. And then they didn't even talk about it today, so I put on the suit for nothing. For you guys, anyways, so we're Science for Georgia. We create change in Georgia through science. Woo! We do 3 things. We improve communication among scientists and the public. So we teach scientists how to stand up in front of rooms like this and tell bad jokes. We increase public engagement with science. We run 3 major events every year. Georgia Science Junction, which you guys are very here tonight. Michael's brainchild, Climate Survival Training, which is also held monthly. And then Science Jazz Hands, which is next Thursday. So if you think these jokes are funny, it's science stand-up comedy next Thursday. Yeah, see, thanks for laughing. It's going to be great. All right, next slide, please. And because we're a nonprofit, we like you to come to our events. So I'm just saying you should really come to Jazz Hands. It's going to be amazing. Yes, make someone rich come to Jazz Hands. Even better. And then we also offer Humor Me. So if you would like to do professional development at your company that involves me teaching you how to tell jokes instead of TPS reports, let me know. I like that somebody got that joke. Thanks. And then we also advocate for the responsible use of science and public policy. Look, it's me in that jacket again. All right. So yeah, we go down to the General Assembly and explain science to them, which is I drink heavily. All right. And then if you would like to be part of the movement, we do have the Environmental Justice and Climate Protection Conference every year. It is being held in Valdosta this year, which is very exciting for me. And you still have time to submit a proposal to be a speaker at this if you would like to. All right, huge thank you to Manuals for being our host. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, guys. Okay. And I think that's it. Oh, yeah, and you should scan this barcode, and it'll take you to a cool page where you can get all the links to all the things I was talking about, and also buy a Science for Georgia t-shirt. That's it. That is it. God, I hope so. All
right. If everybody will just politely look away from the TVs while we switch between different sets of slides. Thank you so much. Just look away. Look down. You don't need to know about all my tabs. No, you don't need to know about those slides yet. That's spoilers. Oh my goodness. Wow, I get to look at my notes too. Okay, everyone can look up. It's okay. It's okay now. We're all here, and this is the presentation part. And I don't want to brag or anything, but I could have done those previous slides, but I'm really glad Amy did them. Okay, cool. The talk is called Things Can Be Better. There's more to it, but I just want to like emphasize that part really quick. What? Oh no, I'll do it. It's okay. These are some nice reassuring images of communities and farming and togetherness and stuff, because I want us to all like visualize. We're going to be visualizing. I want us to just like see, just, picture it, good things. This is what I'm promising you, okay? A good future. Okay, cool. So let's go through step by step. That's not animated at all. That's fun. Okay, cool. So is it gonna work on this one? Cool. Okay, pretend you didn't just see all the parts. So what are we gonna do? I like to tell everybody what we're gonna do because it's gonna help you expect what's coming, and then maybe you'll remember it better and you'll like it. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna show you something. That's part of it. It's okay. Don't panic. It's gonna be all right. I'm gonna show you. We're gonna go through where we're at, whatever that means to you, and we're gonna talk about where we're going. Okay, as humanity. We're going to talk about what is misinformation. If we didn't talk about that, that'd be really weird. That's what this talk is, kind of mostly about. And what is information, right? Everyone thinks they know. But, we'll find out together. How do we know stuff? That's kind of the same. That's part of that. And this is you can tell if you look close, the font is a little bit bigger, because this is really, we're going to nail this one. An overall strategy to change minds over the next 4 years, arbitrarily chosen number of years. And evidence that they work. Cool. And so we're gonna learn how to talk to people well through a workshop activity. Wow. Y'all are gonna have to do stuff. Does everybody have paper? Does everybody have a piece of paper? Don't use it yet. Don't worry about it. We'll get there. Everybody has a pen? If you don't have a pen, don't hesitate. There's pens at the back, I think, with Maria. And yeah. All right, let's get started. I'm going to show you something in a couple minutes. First, let's review some stuff. Okay, we're just going to do some background of what's going on right now. So polarization, we've heard of this. If you could see this really nice plot, it shows really high numbers for both sides of what this division that we experience, what people value. And we see all these categories of, both sides of this division valuing a lot of the same things, right? That's kind of interesting. But the way that we perceive, each side perceives the other side is, oh, they must not value that. Let's process that, right? Let's just take a second with that. We have a question. Yeah, we've got so on the left-hand side, we're seeing that 90% and 89% of people on both sides of political parties both value accountable government. They both value rule of law, representative government, that the past informs our progress, personal accountability, respect and compassion. These are some good values. 10% of people said they didn't like some of these things. That's fine. I don't know, whatever. But the point is we say we value these things and we think the other side doesn't, right? So there's already misinformation inside of our divisions, right? We know this. So there's things we have in common, but we also do differ in some ways. There's a growing gap This is percentage of people that say they have a great deal of confidence in the scientific community. This is Science for Georgia. Of course, we have to talk about that. We have some waning red trust, and we have some increasing blue trust. Very interesting. So we do differ in some ways. And this is just to get us warmed up. So don't get too tired yet. What this is telling us is that if you look at these, this is through 3 different years, and if the blue bar is low and the red bar is high, it means that more people think it's harder to be well informed in this future we live in with so much more information. So we know that all the more information we're getting isn't actually helping us be more informed. At least most of us believe and feel that, right? Okay. Thanks. That was a good warm-up. Now I'm going to show you something. I wonder if we didn't check the sound. Let's see if the sound's going to play. Does it play? No. You can read I'll read the captions out to all of you. All right, let's go back to the start. Okay. I perpetrated a huge fraud, which I am now about to detail, involving the United States government and NASA. All right. And I'm sure you've heard the rumors. The moon landing, that's right. The moon landing was fake. The moon landings all were fake. And I was the person who filmed it. The conspiracy theorists were right on this occasion. Why? I don't know about Paul McCartney's death, but they were right about, that's enough. Okay. Look. I will admit that would have felt different if you were listening to this person say all that stuff rather than me, which, all right, that got a little comical. But the thing we just saw, it's over. Okay, I showed you something. It's over now. We're safe. And so what I want to happen now, you all have pieces of paper. Number 1. What did you feel just then? Pretend you watched it instead of watching me read it. But what kinds of things did you just feel? Just first reaction, just write down whatever's in your mind, whatever's in your heart. These emojis can help guide you if you feel one of those. You can draw them. I'll give you, 25 seconds. Okay, I see a lot of heads looking up. Does anyone want to say something they felt? Frustrated. Who felt frustrated? That was frustrating. Anything else? Amused? Amused? Why? Yeah. We have one? Fear and worry about who and how many people believe that. Who felt that? Fear and worry, yeah. Idiocracy is alive and well. Okay, nice. Well, now the part of the point of this, and I'll let y'all know, who right now feels confusion about that? A little confusion? Maybe half of that confusion is, why did I just show a room full of people that video? Wow, that was dangerous and irresponsible, Michael. Why would you do that? But maybe the other side of that confusion is, did that happen? Did Stanley Kubrick say that? Did Stanley Kubrick say that? Probably not. Well, when I saw this video, I had to go look it up. It's pretty easy to look up. It's an actor. It's from a movie. But all somebody had to do was write the word. It's gone. But all they had to do was write the words, this is Stanley Kubrick admitting that, you know, he filmed the moon landings. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, that was so easy to... Somebody literally just cut that out, put some text on it, off, right out. It's in the world. People are looking at it and getting confused and feeling things, okay? Even we, who maybe it's confusing for a second, but like, I think most people in this room, we know that that was not true, right? Disclaimer, that was an actor. Stanley Kubrick didn't film the moon landing. Maybe he filmed a backup video, but the real thing happened. Okay, cool. I have to say that. We have to, like, you know, be really clear. But just remember, you felt things, and you even can feel confusion, even for a second about that. Keep that in mind. Okay. Okay, we did where we are. We did a little bit of where we're at. And now we're going to, I reused the same pictures. Don't blame me. But I want us to take a second. This is going to be number 2. Okay, I want everybody to close your eyes. Okay? I already showed you some pictures. You're going to think of your version of this future. Okay? What is a bright future 3 years from now? Don't even think about, like, is that realistic? But just imagine, like, okay, I'm out here growing, you know, I'm growing food. I'm with people that are close to me, people that I care about, that I want to work together with, that we're like forming a really tight community, and we're keeping ourselves safe, and we're keeping ourselves, you know, protected from disinformation. Maybe there's people who I wouldn't even expect to be there right now that are there, and that you've grown close to, and that we're seeing maybe eye to eye with each other. And take a second and think, who are those people? Who are the people you expect to be there? Who are the people you don't expect to be there? Think for a second about what kind of activities you're doing. And then open your eyes. I'm so proud of so many of you for actually closing your eyes. That's a beautiful thing. Was that nice? It's nice. It's possible. I promise you. We're going to get there. But I want you to take a second. These are going to get numbered out of order. Some actually, I know that I wrote number 2 on something later. We're going to write down, this is going to be number 3. Write down 5 people that were there in your vision with you, in your network, in your personal, you know. I'll give you 30 seconds, 40 seconds. The reason I want y'all to write that down is because it's like, got to start to make this vision tangible. We got to want it. You know what I mean? We got to vision something nice, and then we got to be like, we got to be specific about it, right? We can't have vague hopes. We got to have specific hopes. I think that's really useful. Let's dive in. What is misinformation? Ooh. I thought about making this another write-down thing, but we've been writing enough, so I'm going to go through some of it. Misinformation. Does anybody have anything you want to shout out? What is misinformation? In one word. Wait, what was that? I couldn't hear it. Deception. Ooh, that's a good word. Wrong is a really good word. Cool. Lies. Oh, yeah. Misunderstood, did I hear? Yeah. Okay. A misunderstanding of things that might be true. Poor assumptions. Okay. We've got a lot of ingredients, and these are great. Anything else? Manipulative. Okay, we're going to get into kind of dividing out what some of these pieces, but absolutely. Yeah. Inflammatory, right? People feel things, creates feelings. So all those things are true, but I didn't make that slide, so I made you make it for me right now. I'm going to now tell you other things about misinformation that are what I really want us to remember coming out of here, and I promise you that we will. Because misinformation is sticky. Who's ever heard the word sticky? Yes! Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Okay, for those of you who don't know what sticky is, it sticks in your head. The very word sticky is so great because it's sticky, right? You learn what it is to be sticky, and it's like stuck. It's in there. So sticky is just stuff that sticks in your head. It's easy to remember. It stays with you, right? This is like the 1 minute definition of what's sticky. Why is it sticky? Sticky because it's simple. Okay. Stanley Kubrick admitted that he filmed the moon landing. I can say that real fast. It's simple. And it answers a question that I thought I had if I think I have that question, right? And it's emotional. So we talked about those things a second ago, but there's some people that feel a lot of things about something like the moon landing. We feel a lot of things, and that's part of being sticky. Why is the word sticky sticky? Because the reason everybody raised their hands, a lot of people in here care about misinformation. You probably heard the word sticky. You probably care about communication. I don't know. I'm just going to project all over you. But there's a reason it stuck is because you heard the word sticky and you said, that's valuable. I feel something about that. That's part of it, right? Something can't just be simple and have no relevance to you. You're not going to remember it. Okay? But it's the combination of these two things that are why misinformation spreads so well. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, but we have to remember if we're fighting against misinformation, what it is we're fighting against, because in a second we're going to get to information. And you know what? Oftentimes it's not completely false. The moon landing thing was like, that's an actor. It's like pretty bold lie, but oftentimes it's harder to refute misinformation that's like based on something true. When you hear something and it's like, well, it's really, you managed to build a sentence that like one of those words is way off, but a whole bunch of them were the right ones, and it's based in something that's true. Lot can make it harder to come back against that, right? Okay. And it's, if we're doing this on purpose, it's easier, right? It makes it easier to base it on something true, or at least seemingly reasonable, right? So it's not always going to be out there, totally wild. Great. So how are we going to combat it? What's our main tool going to be? We'll get to that in a second. First, let's talk about misinformation versus disinformation versus propaganda. We're going to cover this real quick. Disinformation is spread with malicious intent, so there's a difference. That means you did it on purpose. Manipulative, inflammatory, a lot of these words. Disinformation. Even more specifically, propaganda may not necessarily be false, but is more misleading, and specifically often connects to a long-term coherent strategy of manipulation, right? So there's something about propaganda that's like a long-term goal. Big goals, little pieces fit into it, and sometimes propaganda doesn't always have to be false, but it's the assembly of many things to create a narrative over time, right? Our method's going to fight them all. You can forget you just learned all that. Great. What is our main tool? Let's all say it. Neat. Information is boring. Okay, so information is just information. That's it. Yeah, that's boring. But it's sticky if we make it sticky, right? So this is, who's heard the word inoculation? Yes, that's why we came to this talk. So when we're inoculating, if we haven't heard the word, inoculation means it's just like with diseases, vaccines, right? Inoculating against something means exposing to prepare, right? We're exposing people to information to prepare them for when the misinformation comes, they're ready. You've got your defenses ready. You know what's coming. Inoculation is we have to teach, and we have to spread practices of preparing ourselves, right? Knowing that misinformation is coming. I'm trying my best right now to inoculate all y'all. And in order to do that, it has to be sticky, or else, you know, you're just going to forget. You're, in the analogy, your immune system's going to, you know, quickly forget about that exposure, right? So we have to make it simple. We have to make it emotional. We have to not worry about precise jargon. We all know this. This is some of the stuff, you know. Try not to use your jargon. I know. It's hard sometimes. Check out our whole SciComm Academy workshop. This is a plug that we teach about science communication. You can learn a whole bunch more about this aspect in there, not using jargon, making information sticky. That's its own topic. It's not what we're going to cover today. Well, we did a little bit. But even when we finally get through to people, people will go back to believing the first thing. They'll go back to believing what they heard before. So somebody will know, they'll know something, right? They'll believe a piece of misinformation. Then you've reached them. You've done something incredible. You've reached this person, and you've gotten them to agree with you that that thing they heard was misinformation. They agreed. They believed it. There's a solid chance they're going to forget. Don't get too down. I promise you, there's hope in this. It's going to get really good, okay? But we need to know what we're fighting against. We need to understand what actually happens with people. So this is something called the truth effect. Terrible name. I don't know why they named it this, but in this abstract, don't read this abstract. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you that, you know, there's a bunch of papers that say stuff like this. Don't read it. I'm going to read you the middle part. It's that one. Where is it? Yeah, results indicate that the between item effect is larger than the within items effect. That doesn't mean anything to me. What that means is that you change your mind more the second and third time you hear something than the first time. Multiple exposures, repeated exposures, is the key. Okay? So it's a little emotional arc we did there, right? Because it's like, oh no, it's hopeless. Even if we get through to people, they're just going to forget and everything's going to be bad. No. There's this thing, the truth effect, which means that we have to aim for multiple exposures. Seems harder? Trust me, it's going to be easy. What can we learn from this? We believe what we hear. If we learn the truth, we might revert to the misinformation belief. We just talked about this. This is part of why. Okay? Why? Because whoever we just talked to, whoever we just connected with, whoever just unlearned a piece of misinformation, that person that consumed our debunking and was like, yum, they're going to go be around people feeding them lies again, right? They're going to hear that lie once. They're going to hear that lie twice. They're going to hear that lie 5 times. And the truth effect is going to take over. They forgot about everything you said. What even was that? It was really complicated. I don't even know. I mean, it just, my community believes this thing. I'm hearing them say it. I feel like if I'm hearing this that many times, it's got to be true because a lot of people believe it. This is what's happening silently inside people's heads. There's data. We can, if y'all want to have separate conversations, there wasn't like sweet plots. That the paper with that graph, I don't want to explain that table right now. Like, it's just too much. But there's a lot of data behind not only the truth effect, but the ways that people end up reverting their beliefs. But this also teaches us knowledge is really constructed socially, right? There's also a lot of research on this. We want to, even though information is just true or not, right? No. Even though information is just true or not, we're determining what we believe largely socially, which is also true in some good ways. A lot of people in this room probably put their faith in the scientific community, and that's pretty neat. But that's also a social phenomenon. You trust people to be smart. You trust a community. You think a little harder about it. This is also a large sample size, small sample size thing. If we're believing a small community of people, you're not getting a good sample size of people that have done their research. If you're believing a massive community like the scientific community, you're also constructing your knowledge socially, but in a better way because you kind of looked around and said, I'm going to look to all the experts and take a bigger average. Indirectly, right? So it is sort of, there's benefits to constructing knowledge socially, but we got to be careful. And we got to be aware that a lot of people are doing it socially in their circles on a smaller scale. Okay. Yeah. Who remembers ivermectin? Ha. This is going to be question number 2. That's why I told you to write in number 3, because I knew this was numbered 2. Who is ivermectin for? Don't say anything. Whoa. I'm not going to say anything about it. Who is ivermectin for? Say nothing. Write it down. Who is ivermectin for? Number 2. Don't look at your phones. All right, I got to assume that it didn't take that long to write down, so we're going to keep going. Next to your answer, write down, again, don't look at your phones, don't say it out loud. Is ivermectin FDA approved for humans? What did I just say? You're killing me. You'll get your money later, but write it down. Okay. I assume we've answered now. We had no idea. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all a story. Storytelling is a great way to teach, I'm pretty sure. This is one likely journey through our understanding of ivermectin. Okay, a lot of people in this audience might be, you're in pharmaceuticals, you're in medicine, okay. You may be at a slightly different journey. But somebody who trusts science but is not precisely working with like ivermectin and neighboring drugs, cool. This might be your story. You heard of ivermectin. At some point that happened. You heard that ivermectin is for horses. And that people were taking it for COVID. Cool. Confirmation bias. I hate Donald Trump and people on the right. This is a thing that maybe you felt. This is just some of our story, not everybody. This, nameless person felt this. I don't know. Me. The people I hate are mocked for supporting a horse medicine for something it's not for, because that sounds silly, right? That feels good. I like that those people are getting mocked for that, because that feels silly to me. Wait, I agree. I believe ivermectin is just horse medicine, unfit for humans. Because I just experienced confirmation bias. And I took this information and I said, I'm not going to dig any further. I've got what I need to know. Those people are idiots, and this fits in with my narrative of them being idiots. The knowledge that ivermectin is FDA approved for human use for things that aren't COVID is much less well known. We had a call out of yes. Sure. That was good. I mean, I am just curious. Who knew that ivermectin was FDA approved for human use? That's right. I didn't know that for a long time. Spoiler alert. This was roughly my journey. The truth goes unfound sometimes. The point of this was also for us. I'm not trying to make y'all feel bad, okay? I did it too. It's okay. But the point is for us to understand in ourselves, and we'll get back to this in a little bit, for us to understand in ourselves how these biases and how these emotions and how misinformation, which in this case, everybody was being misinformed, right? Both sides are getting the wrong picture. Maybe one side was a little bit better than the other, but still, right? You have to be able to understand how your understanding and consider how your understanding formed partially based on emotions in order to understand how that works in other people, right? Okay, cool. Relatively harmless because it didn't influence whether or not we needed to go take ivermectin for, ourselves at the time, probably. Except for the people that we mocked. And we'll talk a little bit about the damage that caused as well. Cool. I'm just going to tell a slightly different story because that might not have been everybody's experience. I'm going to tell you a slightly different story because I think understanding the different journeys people can have through thinking about something like ivermectin is important. They also heard about ivermectin. They heard it's covered up. We probably heard that too, but we didn't believe it. That it's being covered up for being a useful drug that they, the pharmaceutical companies just want to keep it under wraps because it's going to disrupt their ability to get lots of money from the vaccines. Okay. You heard that, doesn't mean you believed it. But you have some confirmation bias. Maybe this person didn't like Donald Trump and Trump's cronies. Cool. But also suspicious of Big Pharma at the same time. And maybe that was a dominant feeling at that time. A lot of people went on this journey. Suspicious. I don't know what to believe. We end up at a different end of uncertainty. I don't know if anybody in this room sees themselves in this story, but, I just wanted to tell it because we're all seeing and experiencing different things around the same stories. Information is not easy. Or conversion to ivermectin misinformation belief. That could have been a journey in a different direction. Just because, and honestly, I resonate with being at least a little suspicious of Big Pharma. There's a reason we put the word big in front of it. Or you did your research. Some people just really did their research and they were right the whole time. And I want you to be seen. If you're out there, I love you. Okay. Our task. We're going to start getting down to what we need to do. So, misinformation is powerful. It's sticky. We need to acknowledge what we're up against. We're kind of recapping here. Media and leadership may promote lies intentionally. And it's hard for even us, that's not the U.S., like you and me, to keep track of what is true confidently. It's very hard. It's going to get harder. I'll talk about that in a second. We're humans just surrounded by all these mixed lies. And the people we need to reach are increasingly echo-chambered and siloed, and we might just determine what we believe socially anyways. Oh my gosh, trust me, there's hope. And when people unlearn the misinformation, they might just forget. Dang. Okay, good, there's hope. I don't know how long I could go. You remember our visioning time? That was nice. Remember that for a second. It's going to be all right. I promised you hope, and dang it, I'm here to deliver. Oh, the anticipation. We can learn how to fix all of this by understanding how it's broken. That's why we needed to review all that. It's not just to make us feel bad. It's because it's going to help us understand why the following steps are actually going to address those things. Okay? We got to learn from what's worked. So, why isn't it going? This is Daryl Davis. Who's heard of Daryl Davis? I'm going to say one thing. I talk about Daryl Davis all the time. I love Daryl Davis. I want everybody else in this room to come out of here. Remember Daryl Davis. Literally the coolest thing that you'll hear about today. You can ignore everything else. I'm just telling you about a movie called Accidental Courtesy. If you haven't, you probably heard about, if you've heard of Daryl Davis, you've probably heard about this movie. It's worth watching. Daryl Davis convinced dozens of KKK members to leave the KKK. That's it. Just digest that. Likely convinced hundreds indirectly. This is just true. Daryl Davis is black. If you can think of a more difficult challenge than Daryl Davis, if Daryl can change the hardest minds across the biggest gap, so can we. Okay? This is where the hope starts. Is this feeling a little good? This should feel a little good. Okay? That's Daryl Davis. The key. What did Daryl Davis do? Daryl Davis gave them a platform. In conversations, in the way that he talked to them, he was listening. As hard as it might have been, earnestly, respectfully, and as a friend to their viewpoints. Again, if you learn nothing else from this talk, that's the thing. Okay? Daryl Davis didn't try to tell people whether they're right or wrong. Daryl Davis listened and had them explain themselves. And in doing so, they found their way out. I didn't write it down, but including the then Grand Wizard, which if you're not familiar with those terms, that's like the leader. That's like the KKKist of them all. Left, gave Daryl his robe, his ridiculous wizard robe. This is real. This actually happened. Okay, so how are we going to do this? How can we learn from this? We can't all be Daryl Davis. Inspiring, but we didn't play piano with Chuck Berry. That's the thing I hid. Daryl Davis was like already famous. Daryl Davis did a lot and also like traveled the world with diplomat parents learning. So that's part of why Daryl knew how to talk these ways. Okay? Went around the world traveling with diplomats, learning these things, learning special forms of communication. But also Daryl had a foot in the door from being famous. It didn't hurt. But that's just gonna affect what your sphere of influence is. Okay? Daryl Davis can get in the door with hundreds across the biggest boundary. We're going to focus a little different. And generally things are different now than when Daryl Davis was doing stuff. Data sets are going offline. This is something called EJ Screen, like a book burning. .gov just isn't going to bring the same trust if we're trying to keep track of information. It wasn't a one and done of like anything you read there is true for sure, but it was helpful. It's not going to be the same. And can anyone notice anything weird in this picture? This wasn't, I mean, it's only I mean, it's a little funny in a way, but this is Google Maps. The point is they have control of the platforms. There's hope. Okay, that was heavy. Let's take a breath. We're all going to do, on the count of 3, we're going to do a one. I'm going to guide you through a breath. We're going to do a 4 count in. We're going to hold for 4. Okay, on 3, we're going to breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. And hold. I love showing this picture because even if it's just a placebo effect, there's like this, somebody told me once that this makes your vagus nerve relax and that does all these nice things to your brain. And all I need to do is think that it's true and it's good enough for me. It feels good. Okay? I'm just being honest with you. I never looked it up, and I don't want to know, honestly. Cool. So how are we going to do this? We're going back in. I promise you hope. We have to do things a little different together. Okay, so we're going to go through the steps, and then we're going to understand why they're going to work. So, one by one. These are the things that we're all going to do coming out of here, okay? You're going to like it, I think. I don't know. Don't react. Number 1, don't react. You're going to want to yell. You're going to want to do all these things. Don't do it. We're going to practice collaborative communication. We'll get to what that means. It means that it's not adversarial communication. Cool. We're going to empathize. Oh, that sounds weird. We're going to empathize with them that we disagree with. We got to understand Daryl here. Well, Daryl's not the them. We got to use Daryl's methods of understanding the them. This is getting really pronoun-y. Okay. We got to keep track of what is true. It's going to be harder, but I'm going to give you all a tip. Few tips. We're going to build community. Okay? Trust me, that's a key ingredient because we're going to invite them into our communities. Okay? These steps, let's go through them. We're going to figure out why these add up to a good time. A really nice, I wish I could bring it up again really quick, but we'd have to do a whole thing to get back to it. But those nice pictures, that kind of thing, that's where we're going. Okay. Collaborative communication is going to be the hardest step. That's why at the end of this, we're doing an activity about that. Great. So first, do not react, right? What do I mean? You're going to hear and see a lot of stuff. You're going to hear and see things like I showed you with Stanley Kubrick. You're going to, the things I want to say sometimes, we're not going to say them. We're going to stay calm. We're going to learn how to do that. It's weird. It's hard, but we're going to do it. Trust me. If you want someone not to listen to you, you want your enemies to dig their heels in? I like reading these. These are great. Well, then you should yell at them and mock them and ridicule them. That'll do it. I don't even want to change any of those words. Because of the behavior of mirroring. Okay? So we need to understand mirroring. This is what we're going to be using in a few minutes. So mirroring, I should just put a picture of a brain here. I yell and accuse. If that's what I'm doing, I'm yelling at you. We're talking. I'm talking to Frankie. I'm yelling at you and accusing you. Your brain's going to want you to yell and accuse at me. That doesn't sound like listening. If I try to convince you you're wrong, I'm not going to do this to you, Frankie, but if I was here trying to, if you can smell that my goal is to convince you you're wrong, and you can smell it on other people too. You know it. When people try to convince you you're wrong, you know it's happening. You're going to try to convince me I'm wrong. you're going to go in defense mode, right? That's why all these things aren't good. Your mind is on why I'm wrong, not why I could be right. That's why we're learning collaborative tone. We're already doing it too. Pretty soon we're going to do an activity. It's going to be great. Stick with me. Again, we're using the behavior of mirroring in our favor. If I'm listening and learning with you, right? Your brain is more likely to decide to be learning and listening with me because the tone of our conversation is learning and listening. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. If I compliment some of your insights because we're working together to learn and I esteem you as a co-learner in our journey of understanding something, which is what we're truly going to be going on. You're not convincing people stuff. You're learning with them. And it's not about tricking yourself into thinking you're learning with people. It's about understanding that you actually are, right? If you think you have nothing to learn from anyone else, you're lost too. We have more to learn from them than we realize. All right. And if I'm complimenting you, you want me to be right, don't you? Because if I'm right about saying you're smart, that's good for you. That's pretty cool, right? That means you're smart. So you're hoping that I'm right about other stuff too, right? Okay. Key aspect. We're not sacrificing our values. We're not sacrificing what is true. We're just emphasizing what we do have in common and working together. Again, all these things seem unnatural. They're actually, once you start doing them, they're pretty easy. Okay? And these are the things we're going to be thinking about in 5-10 minutes when we're doing this activity. Okay. Don't lie. People can tell when you're lying. Just find things that are true and kind to say. If you can't find something nice to say, try harder. You can find something nice to say. Go find something nice to say. If people if somebody believed the moon landing video, then you're like, you know what? I appreciate that you're a skeptic. Was that so hard? I also relate to being suspicious sometimes of things. You know, there's lots of things we can say to that. Okay. People can tell when you lie. And they're not going to like it. That's when you lose people. So again, don't lie. But we got to empathize with them, our adversaries. That's what Daryl says, adversaries. So I'll use that. I say them. And yeah, it's going to feel a little weird sometimes. But keep in mind, we do have things in common. Remember? There's a lot of shared values. We can focus on that. Having different journeys based on our social situations, based on the factors that are presented to us, doesn't mean people are inherently evil. We have to take a second to realize people got to what they believe for a reason. And it wasn't just because they're pure evil and they hate everyone. Most of the time it's because they've been convinced by somebody and by repetition, by the truth effect, it's all coming together, that what they're being told is for the good of people they care about, whether that's the whole earth worth of people or whether that's the people near them. It's based in care. It's based in fear. And we have to be able to empathize with that. We have to be able to understand that all these things come from a place of care, typically. Okay. We need to keep track of what is true. This is hard. It's hard and it's getting harder. But the biggest thing here is going to be looking into diverse sources whenever possible. Okay, there's something that I heard about called the mosaic of science. I will not invoke that I learned about this at Bard because I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. What's a mosaic? It's something that's only clear when you look at many pieces all at once, right? The individual tiles of a mosaic don't really tell you the story. The whole thing tells you the story. It's the same thing with fighting misinformation. One paper, one study, never going to tell you the whole picture. Okay? Right? We need to see a lot of different sources. We need to know the full picture. We need to really look into everything we can read about an issue before we can actually see what's really going on. But also keep track of trusted voices and platforms, right? Look into bias. I have to cover this stuff. Maybe a lot of people in here were already into this. We got to remember it. We got to look into our bias. Who funded this? Are they transparent? Are they telling us why this was written? Is it just a journalism institute that really cares about the truth? Or is it like, you know, are there secret funding sources, right? We got to dig in. How do they know? What was their method? We got to think through it. Does it actually make sense? But the key to all of this is don't do it alone. All those steps, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's better to not do it alone for multiple reasons. There's too much to keep track of. So, you're going to get with a group to keep track of what is true collaboratively. This should not be any one person's job alone. It's too much. You need to work with a community to get diverse perspectives on the things we're trying to keep track of. That's how the scientific community does it. Why would you try to do all the truth digging on your own? That's too much. You got to deal with like your whole life at the same time. But this is your signal. Join in, form, get involved with some group of friends or something. Starting now, if you're not already in one, to help keep track of what is true, because it's going to be very hard. Okay? Does that make sense? Are there questions in this moment? Let's take a brief question pause. Where are we at? How are we feeling? Got a thumbs up from Kate, which is pretty reassuring. Thumbs up. I'm going to keep talking. We're almost to the activity part. Okay. And when you do form a group, form strong community. We already said that, right? That's key. Get with a knowledge tracking group, like I just said. We want you to join. I'm not just giving you this advice because I'd love you all to join our knowledge tracking group, but heck, we'll have you. Come hang out. Sci4GA is Science for Georgia. Eventually form satellite groups that convene periodically, right? Form into little pods. Take care of different issues. Keep track of all the stuff that's going on. This needs to be a new social trend, and we need to make it that, right? This is more than just a workshop. This is like a teaching the teachers, right? We're going to need to spread this. Okay. And I'm not talking about forming 15 little communities that, you know, it's like, oh, I see these people once every 3 months. Form a few little communities that you connect with pretty frequently, okay? And at least one should be with your neighbors. Growing food. It's important to be able to take care of ourselves, especially if things get uncertain. This is also a plug for climate survival training. Don't blame me. But grow your own food. Take care of your communities because, I wanted to say something else. But will these people be on your speed dial if something bad happens? I didn't swear. That's an important question to ask yourself. Be honest. Build those connections. Build your speed dial. Is speed dial, is this like a lost reference? Do we remember speed dials? Okay, cool. Favorites. Okay, your favorites. Is that what it is in the phones now? God, I'm not. I'm not that old. No, I don't. Okay. Also, Elon Musk wants to force the government workers into the private sector. Build strong communities. Yeah, boo. We can boo. It's okay. But if we don't have community support, those people will have less choices of what to do. Right? Help take care of your neighbors. Help take care of your community. Who's ever heard of mutual aid? Nice. If you haven't heard of mutual aid and or community aid, check it out. Go read a book. Go at least read a website. Basically, it's just the concept that we can be helping each other out specifically in ways that assist the goals that we share, right? We share some goals. We share some values. There's more to accomplishing those values than just directly, attacking the issue. People need support. People need a lot of things other than just research as to what's true or what's false. People also need food and water and shelter, right? Community and mutual aid are the philosophy of us helping each other achieve those things and recognizing that that is part of our progress as an advocacy, activism, etc. community, right? We have some shared values. We want to accomplish those things. Make sure some of the other people are getting the food and water that they need. Key aspect that is often forgotten. Okay. I was going to have you all write down what's mutual aid, but I want to get to the activity. But the final part, right? We build these communities, and it was good in its own. We didn't need this to be the reason to build strong communities, but this is going to be the real benefit that's going to show us how we're going to fight misinformation. This is the punchline. Hopefully it's exciting. We're going to bring our opponents into our communities. That sounds scary. We already empathize with them. Hopefully it'll feel a little easier. But cult mindset, okay? Cults offer a hand to people when they're down. When bad things happen, people that we don't agree with are going to experience hardship. We're not going to turn our backs on them. We're not going to mock them. We're not going to kick them when they're down. We're going to bring them into the cool community that we formed. Why? Because this is how truth is, understanding, belief, knowledge is social. This is how we change minds. Don't let cults be the only ones doing this, or else everybody's just going to end up in cults. Right? Okay? We can use their playbook. It's not wrong. It's okay. I give you permission. It's okay for compassionate acts to also benefit us through stronger communities. Don't ever forget that diversity is strength in a community. That's right. But take it slow, be careful, and keep your community safe. Inviting people that you disagree with in should be done carefully, right? Great. I'm glad we agree. But you're going to hook them in on acceptance and inclusion. People like to belong, right? We like that. And that's going to be a hard thing to give up. They're going to want to be around your community, and they're just going to keep hearing about things that are true, aren't they? Because you're going to have a fact-checking group, and you're going to be telling them stuff that's true all the time, and they're going to be inoculated all the time with the truth effect. It's all coming together, I hope. Is this making sense? Neat. Now you're there. I already said that. Now you're their truth effect, right? Now you're the reason that they're hearing the same things again and again. But they're better things. Okay, so where are we at? 3 years of these steps have passed. We're informed, we're connected, we're calm. Because we're being calm, we're not reacting, remember? We're able to respectfully disagree because hopefully those disagreements are, less severe. We agree on some basic essentials. Our former enemies are close. Holy moly, that sounds so cool. And misinformation, as a result, struggles to find a foothold. Because access to good information is high. and exposure to good fact-checking. I guess I kind of covered this already. I got excited. But they're exposed to your information tracking group, right? Repetition's good for memory, okay? So, you know, go home and watch the live stream after you've been here. I gave you homework. And your community's no longer socially reinforcing the misinformation, right? We've got quorum. Okay. Some key tips that didn't fit anywhere else about talking that we're all going to think about in a minute when we do this exercise is be on their side while being honest. We kind of talked about that. Don't admit you believe differently unless you have to. Don't turn yourself into their opponent unless you have to. And if you have to, hedge this in an openness to hearing new information. Say, well, you know, I'm actually not really, right now I'm not convinced in what you're telling me about vaccines, but I don't know everything. I want to know how you got to where you're at, right? Appeal to understanding what they think, but also, again, don't lie and appeal to their intelligence, right? Make them feel smart. That's when they listen. That's when they're listening to themselves talk. We hearing that? Cool. I don't know. I wrote this down. Joe Rogan, the attitude of always looking to. So if somebody brings up like Joe Rogan to you, right? Okay. Like, don't you love Joe Rogan? Whatever. This is just like an example. The attitude of always looking to learn is actually something I resonate with. This is an example of how you can say something that is nice, appeals to their intelligence, is true, and is a response to them asking you if you like Joe Rogan or not, right? The attitude of always looking to learn is something I really resonate with. That's something I do. I always want to be learning, right? And that's something that I admire in Joe Rogan. But then you can also be honest. But at the end of the day, you know, he has an audience he needs to engage and like get frothed up in order to make money. And that, you know, it's like, how do you know that bias isn't gonna sneak into what he's doing? So I turned it back into a question. An authentic question that I actually want to hear their answer to. And so hopefully they're actually going to answer me in earnest, right? So this is an example of all this at the end of all this. It's now activity time. Activity time is going to be fun. Everybody's going to get into pairs. Okay, so in a second, you're all going to find yourself a partner. We're going to partner up. We're going to have, you know, a pairs two. 2 people in a group, you're set. If you have to have 3, if you really, you know, you can do that. That's fine. But you need at least 2. We're going to hand you some little cards that are going to come from Olivia that's going to be handing these out face down. Don't look at them. Don't look at them. Don't look at them. They'll be face down. Keep them between you. They're just a stack of cards. They're pieces of paper. They're not cards, but still. What you're going to do is you're going to take turns. One of you is going to go first. You're going to expose your partner to a situation, okay? You're going to pick up the card. You're going to be able to see it, and you're going to read it out, and you're going to kind of act it out. Because what we want to do is we want to be presenting each other with a scenario that might come up. And this is about learning to resist certain tendencies that we have, that I know I have. It's something it's a hard habit to break. So what your partner is going to do, they get exposed to that. They're going to try to think through how can they react in a way that's going to lead to collaborative conversation, not adversarial conversation. We're not going to react. We're going to figure out how to frame the conversation as the 2 of us working together to learn, right? All this stuff sounds simple. Practicing it's way harder. That's why we need to practice this, okay? That's why this is the one and only main activity. Also, you notice at the bottom of your sheets, A, B, C, D. Each of you will probably go through about 4 responses, 3 or 4. Write down some notes. What was your first reaction? And then after talking with your partner, what do you think might even be a better direction than that? There's always better, okay? So you're going to assess, you're going to talk through each one for a second with your partner. And then, yeah, really, like, do you actually think that that scenario is going to play out towards collaborative conversation or not? Be honest. I mean, you don't need to convince me. This isn't class. You're not getting a grade. Like, just be honest with yourself. Like, do you think that'll work? Picture it. Take some notes. We'll be coming around. We'll be talking. And again, the key here is actual curiosity, right? Being earnestly interested in hearing what they have to say. This is Daryl. This is giving them a platform, not just any platform, but one that they want to speak on, that they feel like this is a moment for them to be heard. I'm so excited. They're being passed out now, so whenever you get them, go ahead and get started, and that'll be great. We'll be coming around and chatting with you and answering questions. Cool. For people online, don't listen to this. This is for people online. Y'all continue. For the people online, I love you. I appreciate you being there. Real heroes out there through the computer. I'm reaching out. We're touching. Anyway. I'm gonna just hold up these cards for you, one by one, and you're gonna just at home. You're gonna think through whether or not, what kind of response you might want to have. And I'm going to do these one by one. I'm going to hold them up to the camera, and Amy here is going to tell me whether you see them. Okay, cool. Oh, we can type them in. That also works. But holding them up seems fun. It's like something to look at for the video's sake. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go grab some cards. You're going to hold them up? Oh, okay. Do you want to? Okay. Okay, cool. I'll go around and start talking. Is it on? Oh, it's on. Hey, everyone. If you could, I'll do the thing. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. That was the first time I ever did that. That was really cool. Wow. That was so fun. So what do y'all think? Was that useful? It's hard though, right? It's a little hard to figure out, A, how to keep it kind of secret that you disagree. Really hard to figure out what the thing to say is if it's not, no, that's not true. You're wrong, stop it. You got to think for a second, right? But there's always something. There's always something in each of these ones. Maybe I'll put out something with like some of the responses that I came up with, which aren't the best, but there's something, right? Maybe I'll send that out to everybody in like you're all on our network. You get our Catalyzer email. I'll send them out. That's it. I just wanted to say like thanks for being here, and that's the end of it. And like I don't want y'all to feel like you have to stay here all night. So it's like you don't have to leave, but this is like a goodbye of sorts. I don't know what it means, but thanks everyone. We're Science for Georgia. Join our misinformation, our anti-misinformation, our information team. Neat. Great job.